Hi, and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network. I'm Atiq.
And I'm Naila.
We're both professional registered homeopaths, and between us have over 25 years of professional practice in this field of healing.
The Homeopathy Health Show is the voice of homeopathy on radio and podcasts around the world, promoting and raising awareness of this truly unique system of healing and healthcare, which is suitable for all ages, young and old.
Every week, we invite guests from the world of homeopathy to come and share their experiences, their work, offer insights, and essentially talk all things homeopathy.
Visit www.ukhealthradio.com to listen now. To find out more about us, you can visit us at www.homeopathyinpractice.co.uk. And whilst you are there, do subscribe to our newsletter.
Be inspired
and join the conversation.
So let's begin today's show here on the UK Health Radio Network, the world's #1 talk health radio.
Real feel-good radio.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network. And I am Atiq.
And I'm Naila. Welcome, everyone.
So I do hope you have been well, and I do hope you've caught up with all the previous episodes. It's such an honor, I tell you, to be able to interview so many homeopaths, leading homeopaths and educators and authors and teachers and students and home prescribers and principals. And oh my God, I can really carry on, can't I? But I tell you what, it's such an honor. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. And me and Naila were having this conversation just yesterday, actually, and saying to Naila, I said, isn't it amazing that through the Homeopathy Health Show, we can bring these voices of homeopathy, to the airwaves, literally. And it also is such a high mark of, as far as we're concerned, it's such a high mark of respect to capture those voices. So much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much experience, and it's just beautiful. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, things can only get better, right? So, hey, before Naila introduces today's guest, I must say a remarkable individual indeed. I do have some homeopathic facts for you. Hey, Shakespeare, we all know Shakespeare, okay? Well, not personally, of course, but, I'm sure we've read some of his works. King Lear. So one of the remedies, actually, Veratum album, is referenced in Shakespeare's works, centuries, actually, before Hahnemann systemized homeopathy. It was the remedy veratrum is known for violent purging, but in homeopathy is used for indications such as collapse, shock, and cholera-like states. That's only just a few, okay? It's a very vast, deep acting remedy. Hey, another fact for you. Moonlight. Don't you just love looking at the moon? Don't look at the sun, because that may not work out very well, but at least the moonlight we can look at, and in all its glory and splendor. And there is indeed, ladies and gentlemen, a remedy called Luna, prepared by exposing milk sugar to moonlight, and it's used for sleep disturbances, menstrual cycles, and many other things as well. The word moonstruck comes to I don't even know, but hey, moonstruck. But I know one thing. It was an event over the weekend, okay? So I was taking a picture of the moon, which I just wanted to do at that moment. But what I didn't realize was I was driving at the time. But hey, I was in a car park, so I wasn't on the road, okay? But enough of that, enough facts for today. Over to Naila for today's guest introduction.
I'm very excited to introduce our today's guest because you will know in a minute. Today on the Homeopathy Health Show, we are delighted to welcome Bill Rumble, my teacher, my mentor, one of the UK's most respected homeopaths, teachers, and everyone's mentor. I do have to say that. Bill has been in full-time homeopathic practice since the early 1980s and is a former co-principal of the Welsh School of Homeopathy, where he inspired generations of students with his depth of knowledge and compassionate approach. Over the years, he has taught widely in the UK and internationally, always bringing clarity, humor, and a deep commitment to the principles of classical homeopathy. Known not only for his clinical expertise, but also for his ability to weave philosophy, patient care, and practical prescribing into a coherent whole. Bill continues to guide practitioners with wisdom gained from over 4 decades in the profession. His work reflects a lifelong dedication to helping people heal and to ensuring that homeopathy remains vibrant, rigorous, and accessible for future generations. We are honored to have him with us today to share his journey, his insights, and his vision for the future of homeopathy. As I say, he always says, homeopathy is very easy.
Hey, welcome, Bill,
Oh,
to
hi.
Naila and myself. And hey, what an intro, and so true.
Oh my God, I'm so flattered. Actually, I've never said homeopathy is easy. What I said was it's really simple, but it's not
Simple.
always easy. And it's like football. It's a very simple thing, but it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but football is interesting, isn't it? But let's not go there. Hey, I don't want to upset football fans. Okay,
No,
I
okay.
love football.
Yeah, me
Well,
too.
you know, yeah. Anyway, moving on, swiftly moving on. Back to homeopathy. Okay. So, hey, Bill, we had the honor to meet a few times, I think, at the School of Homeopathy, and that was a real pleasure. And I know that Naila speaks extremely highly of you. We actually do, funnily enough. You are actually, Naila, this is true. I just realized something. We talk about so many people, nice things, of course. We talk about so many people, homeopaths. But is it true to say, I think it is, that we talk about Bill more, don't we? We mention Bill often, don't we?
If we do.
Yeah.
Bill has this charm, this charisma, and the way he teaches, the way he brings the philosophy to life. I feel myself to be fortunate enough to study with Bill, and yeah, thank you for everything. I just love your monster that we have to find.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's
Let's
interesting, isn't it, Bill? Because we talk about, and of course, I don't want to put you on the spot. So,
You can.
but you do deserve it, of course,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely, you
fine.
do. But it's interesting because you can get homeopathy, which is very, very exciting, and you can talk and make it really exciting, and it is exciting anyway. But the way that you present it, the way that you talk, and the way that you deliver, it's exciting, but it also, it captures your attention, and that's very, very important, I feel. So, hey, right at the offset, we usually wait a bit, but I would say that from Nyla and myself and all the listeners on the Homeopathy Health Show, and all the homeopaths and teachers and students, we are grateful to you for what you do and continue to do in this service to humanity. And hey, thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you indeed. So shall I just start talking?
Well,
That's
it
what we
is the
want
show.
from you. Just start talking, Bill.
If
Okay,
you don't, if you don't start talking, then I won't stop. So hey.
okay, yeah, I better have them. Yeah, so as a sort of brief, sort of process-oriented biography of my practice. For the first maybe 8 or 9 years, I believed that actually the purpose of the homeopath's work was to try and make something happen. And gradually, through a few disastrous cases, actually, I realized that I was identifying with the part of the person that was suffering from the illness and getting sort of drawn into the idea of trying to take away their suffering. And then I went back to the organon. I've got a copy here somewhere. Oh, where did I? Oh, yes. This came out, and this is Wenda Brewster O'Reilly's version of Hahnemann's sixth edition. And it was translated by a American classical German scholar called Stephen Decker, and he translated it directly from the original manuscript. And then Wenda edited it and annotated it. And something struck me really profoundly, really, because all the way through the organon, Hahnemann refers to disease processes as energetic entities and intelligent energetic entities. He refers to them in terms of the Wesen, that's spelled Wesen, which is an energetic entity that has no actual mass, but it's an energetic process. And I thought that was amazing. And I got quite excited when I read aphorism 11 again. And he says it's a disease-tuned life force alone that brings forth diseases. And, looking at it from a purely obvious point of view, I realized that there are two parts to every disease. There's the part that's suffering from the pain, but there's also the part that's giving it. And latterly, I've realized that the part that's suffering from the pain, we could call the patient's known world. And the part that is giving the pain, we could call that the patient's unknown world. And it became clear to me that our work as homeopaths is to connect with and decode the unknown world of the symptom maker. And I also began to realize that the vital force is not a thing, but it's a process. And that actually it's not a unified field, but it's a multi-channel information system. And so basically there are certain elements of the vital force that are actually creating the discomfort of the patient. And if we can identify with that part, then we get clear instructions about what remedy to give. So that was a big step for me, was to become an apprentice to the vital force, or an assistant at least to nature, rather than trying to make something happen.
You know, that's so beautiful what you just said. I love that word, apprentice to the vital force. I mean, that's Merlin 2.0, isn't it? Hey, isn't it? That's
Okay.
not the wizarding world of Harry Potter, of course not. But it actually sounds so nice, doesn't it, Naila? The apprentice to the vital force.
Let me just stop this call, switch my phone off.
Well, that's live. We're going to leave that one in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Homeopathy Health Show, and Bill
This
Rumble
is
received a
Bill.
phone call.
And,
This is Bill live.
This
and
is Bill
Bill
live.
switched off his phone. Hooray.
Woohoo! Yippee!
Yeah.
So, hey, Naila, go on. I know you wanted to ask.
Because I have listened to him and I can listen to him all the time. But can you, for our listeners, tell us who don't know what vital force is? Who is the symptom maker? How does the symptom maker produces the symptoms, and how do a homeopath can expect to perceive it?
Okay, so it's essentially mysterious for a start, because anything, deep things are mysterious, and you could say that's why homeopathy is. Hahnemann says it's a medical art, which means it's deep, not precise, whereas ideas are precise but not deep. And so we're working essentially with a mysterious process. So when people say, "How does homeopathy work these days?" I just say, "I don't know really." But basically, another sort of important, I suppose, a really important aphorism, 6, the unprejudiced observer, knowing the nullity of supersensible speculations which are not borne out in experience, perceives nothing in each individual case other than the symptoms, the signs, and the beformance, which is, so beformant means the thing that fell to you, that created the misattunement of the life force in the first place. And so it becomes clear that symptoms are the patient's experience of the misattunement or the altered attunement created by the beformant. And signs are the observers or the participants' experience of the communication system. So it becomes clear that diseases are primarily communication processes. And in aphorism 7, he said it is the symptoms alone by which the disease demands and points to the appropriate medicine for its relief. And that, for me, is fascinating, because when I'm working with groups of people, I say, "What strikes you about that statement?" And very few people actually can make that connection immediately because of the obstacles to flipping the cognitive switch. What he's really saying is that the disease is desperately trying to, or maybe not desperately, but seeking to communicate something to the patient and to the, if you like, the participant, which is what we are, in order that the disease shall be cured and transformed into health. So diseases, from that point of view, are not things that want to kill you, they're things that want to transform you. And going back to the idea of the vital force, we could say that it's a multi-channel system. I mean, I was doing some research recently. I found out the brain processes 11 million signals per second, including homogeneous background cosmic radiation.
Wow.
And that actually one can just imagine that the vital force is not a single thing, but it's a multi-channel process. And at any given time, those signals are responding to the signals are a response to the information that's been collected through the senses. So the vital force operates entirely through the signals that are picked up by the senses. And you can imagine an infinite number of potential channels, like a superposition. And so when we connect with a patient by, as Hahnemann says in Aphorism 6, by being empty-headed, then it's possible that we can make a connection with one of the channels or some of the channels, communication channels that are coming from the symptom creator.
Does that mean that the vital force is reactive to the senses?
Yes, absolutely. That's how it operates. Yeah, exactly how it operates. It's primarily a sensory receiver. So that could be anything from music to mood to the presence in a certain room to the signals that are coming down through the ancestry. There's an infinite number of potentials, and it's actually quite fascinating to imagine the extraordinary sophistication.
That takes me on to two questions. I hope after the first one I actually remember what the second one is, but just say Jan Scholten and I'll remember, hopefully. But that means that this may be a bit out there, but if we look at it geographically and we look at it as different countries and climates, then the vital force is, we say geographic medicine as well, and we know some countries are prone to certain types of conditions, right? That also means then, linking it into Jan Scholten, if I'm making any sense whatsoever, when he talks about personality types,
Yes.
that they're all superimposed. The vital force then becomes reactive to that, but it doesn't stop you getting rid of that personality depending on even the geographic location that you're in, right? Can a personality change because you've just moved country?
Well, the personality is a superficial process. I mean, persona is what you develop to survive.
Yeah.
Actually, some systems are geared up to perceiving and analyzing the survival strategy of the patient. And if you read Scholten's work, it's full of survival strategy, which is fine. I mean, I've got absolutely no problem with it. However, what I'm really interested in is an unexpected system where actually things can start signaling that have no apparent, things start signaling which are a surprise. So the whole idea behind information striking and being odd and curious and unpredictable is around the idea of things coming out from a place which is unknown to the patient and to surprise you and alert you and wake you up. Rather, for example, I'm working recently with a patient with kidney failure, and he's been given a choice of transplant, dialysis, or death by the consultant. But the interesting thing is that the center of the case is the fact that when he perspires at night, the perspiration stains the sheets and is impossible to wash out. So for me, that's deeper than a personality process of surviving or adapting to a particular set of family circumstances.
Do you know, that's really interesting you mentioned that, because Naila, do we not talk about this perspiration some months back with somebody, and they were staining the sheets? I can't remember. But anyway, it just took me back there for that moment.
Yeah, that's funny coincidence. I mean, the thing is that the remedy I used was mercury and an LM potency. And, it's been transformative. The guy's well. He can go for walks, ride his bike, argue with people without breathe. He can go to the loo, and he's looking forward to the rest of his life instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to die. So, but for me, I think it's an interesting thing. And I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else or any other people's system is this or that. But any time that you start speculating about the meaning of what's going on for someone else, then you're lost. Because you're actually passing a judgment on the way in which another person is experiencing the world. But what I'm really interested in is how the energy body is experiencing, how the resonant body is experiencing the world.
So I do have a question for you. Sorry, Naila, just for my last question, okay? And then
Ask as many as you want.
uh, the question I have is something that I've totally forgotten what it was. I don't even know. Oh boy, doesn't matter now. I'll
We'll
come
come
back.
back to you, Atiq.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say from experience, we all know as homeopaths, whenever we start thinking in a consultation, we stop perceiving. And we've seen it so many times when the patient is sitting there and, oh, this symptom is in this remedy, this symptom. As soon as I have started that, the the thread that was between us breaks.
Yeah, but that's okay. So every case taking has three phases.
Mhm,
There's a receptive phase or the empty-headed phase, the
mhm,
knowing nothing phase, the
mhm,
simpleton phase. There's the interactive phase, which is
mhm,
when something comes up which is interesting.
mhm,
And rather than saying, oh yeah, I hear you, what I'd say, wow, that's fascinating. I'd love to know more about that.
yes,
That's the point at which you begin to engage.
yes,
And then there's the analytical phase, where you're actually saying, hang on a minute, I'm just going to have a look in my book.
yes.
But what you're doing is also during the analytical phase, you're creating downtime. And every consultation has to have downtime. It has to have meaningless time.
Mhm,
I'm particularly interested in people's everyday experience.
mhm,
So, when a person comes in, I'm likely to want to introduce myself, obviously. So, how was the trip in today? Or lovely day, isn't it? And try and engage on an everyday conversational level,
mhm,
because that way you're actually creating a wide spectrum of potentials. Whereas if a person comes in and your introductory process is, tell me about your health or tell me about your problem or tell me about your personal life, you're actually beginning with a very narrow spectrum
mhm,
potentials. So it's, whatever. Oh, how'd you get here today? Oh, I got here on the bus. All right, how was that? And actually that opens up an amazing potential to bypass the deep and meaningful and get into the energetic.
And sometimes this deep and meaningful, not many people want to talk about. People
Yeah,
like to
but deep
talk
and
about,
meaningful isn't.
yeah.
Deep and meaningful is often the person's idea of the suffering.
Mm,
And
mm,
actually, we don't know that. Nobody knows the meaning.
mm,
The idea that you have to understand the meaning of a person's disease to cure it is an inflation,
mm,
and it's speculative. We don't know the meaning. Meaning is always retrospective. You only understand the meaning after something has gone.
mm, mm,
Ask anyone who's ever been in a relationship.
mm,
And it's
mm,
the same with homeopathy. We're not there to find out the meaning. What we're there is to, if you like, to decode signals,
mm,
find a medicine which transmits
mm,
signals which are similar enough to the tuning of the vital force at that given moment
mm.
in order to create a resonant response. That's it.
So I do have a question. I did remember what the
Great.
question
Well
was.
done.
It finally came to me. It actually came as soon as I'd forgotten. But anyway,
That's the thing.
so we talk about um, being unprejudiced,
Mm,
and we talk about being impartial, and we talk about being in the middle of that seesaw, not going from one side to the other, right?
mm,
There are a lot of students that listen to the Homeopathy Health Show. There are a lot of graduates that tune into this show. The human mind, Bill, is such, isn't it, that when we are, if a patient, and it can happen every single time because a lot of the stories do end up being the same when they are talking, when they are relaying, when they are transferring their worries and anxieties, their health concerns to ourselves as homeopaths, the mind is such that it does automatically, whether we like it or not, link to our own experiences because there are triggers, right?
mm,
Somebody talks about loss, somebody talks about back
mm,
pain, I don't know, somebody talks about some sort of injury that they sustained or something that they've been going through.
Mm.
How does one truly try to remain unprejudiced because the mind is too powerful?
Okay. Well, firstly, unprejudiced for me means empty-headed. So it involves an awareness for anything to happen. I can often relate when you talk about being impartial. I mean, empty-headed and impartial are different things. But when, sometimes a person can relate something that I find really, really familiar to me. And, for me, what doesn't work is to try and block it.
Mm,
Actually, what you create then is tension. But what I would do in those situations is say to myself, wow, this feels so familiar to me,
mm,
simply, and acknowledge it because it's part of nature happening. Everything that happens is part of nature. And if that's part of the process, then so what? Good. Part of the process. Wow, I can relate to that.
Mm.
Yeah.
that's very beautifully said. Thank you
Mm.
for that. Yeah.
But it's also to remain, if you like, unhurried. So for me, a consultation tends to take place at about that tempo. And that way it's easier to be rhythmic in your case-taking style where you can listen to somebody completely and make a few notes and then come back to them. And, I think to be spacious, at least, or even sometimes playful in terms of being confident that the information will make itself clear when it decides to. And the way I see it is like if you imagine that this extraordinary multi-channel system, which is processing signals, is also processing signals that are coming from me and my environment, my working environment. So if it reminds me of these remote controls on TVs, they scan the TV until they hit the particular wavelength or frequency.
Mm.
And um,
All
uh,
the analog radios, even, right?
yeah, even analog radios, exactly. So I kind of fantasize that the symptom, the multi-channel system is scanning, and actually when it finds a frequency that it resonates with, it'll start to impart information that's often unexpected to the patient and unexpected
Mm,
to me. So it's the idea, if you're looking for a particular thing, then what you're doing is narrowing down the potential of a consultation. Whereas actually, if you open yourself up to the possibility of being surprised and not understanding the meaning and having something mysterious occur, even the environment can start to signal to wake you up and alert you and connect you with the. We're trying to make a connection with the unknown world here. So, in a way, it's analogies. The analogy is, for me, is that we're actually a conduit between the patient's unknown world and the world of homeopathic medicines. We're like the
mm.
go-between.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the idea of open yourself up. What happens is if we go in a consultation or if we sit with someone and we are not empty-headed or we have some ideas about ourselves or our abilities, that is sometimes um, not the channels, the signals, everything is always there, but we are not ready to perceive because
That's right, Naila. But, sometimes if you view yourself with curiosity,
hmm,
you can actually go, wow, God, this is amazing. I'm really limiting the potential of this consultation and I'm really stopping anything happen. That's fascinating.
hmm, hmm,
So
hmm,
if you regard yourself with compassion and playfully and
hmm.
notice what you're doing, for me, it's the same type of communication that wakes you up when you're falling asleep driving a car. Oh, wake up. Oh, it's a wake-up call from part of ourselves that we don't normally identify with.
Yeah. This happens in my consultation sometimes when I connect with someone and something happens inside me, like if I get emotional, oh, what happened there? Why? What was there? Why did my body respond like that's
Yeah,
interesting?
yeah.
And then I sometimes sit with those emotions for myself to just understand, or if I get enraged, or
It's Yeah, it's really about not so much understanding it, it's seeing where it leads.
Mm,
What you're actually doing is you're connecting,
mm,
and you can connect in terms of images, you can connect in terms of feelings, you can connect in terms of resonance, you can connect in terms of the things that go on in the environment around you. There's any possibility. But basically, I think what you're saying is fascinating because the thing for me is that I'm noticing, wow, I'm connecting here.
mm,
Let's see what happens next,
mm, mm,
rather than trying to fix it and
mm.
analyze
Yeah,
it.
that is what most of us do in our real lives. If we just look at just everyone around us, okay, I have a headache, let's fix it.
Mm-mm,
I cannot digest, I have some acidity, let's fix it.
mm-mm.
Rather, if we just go and connect, what is happening? Oh, why did I get this headache today? It's nice. It's
Yeah.
fascinating to get a headache. But just
Hmm.
from where did it come from?
I think the thing is that you're saying is fascinating, but the issue for me is that we can try and analyze it or we can try and track it.
Mhm, mhm,
For me, tracking it, following the once you make the connection,
mhm,
you know, I mean, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are a few.
mhm,
And I've always had this fantasy that taking a case is like picking up a phone that's been ringing for maybe generations. Ring, 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 and you go, oh, who's there? And you can just imagine the stampede on the other side of that line of trying to give you information. At last, we found someone who's a simpleton,
mhm,
who knows nothing, who's fresh with every consultation,
mhm, mhm,
doesn't believe in systems.
mhm,
You know,
mhm,
all of a sudden there's any possibility. So the system that develops is the system that this multi-channel process is in charge.
mhm,
You know, when, like I said before, you know, we're not there to make something happen. That's an inflation, and we can
mhm,
start to get very big for our boots.
mhm,
But
mhm.
it's to become an apprentice is so fascinating.
That you know what you've just said. I mean, please, can you do say that again? That was very, very powerful. Picking up the phone. That's that you got me there. That's really deep. I mean, seriously, from someone listening to that, it just makes so much. That was so poetic almost, you know. Hello, can I help you?
Yeah, yeah. Who's
And
there?
yeah, who's there? You know,
You-
that's the question, isn't it? Who's there?
Who's there? What's happening here?
Hmm.
It's not the person's ideas or the person's identity or their persona or their personality,
Yeah.
their survival strategy. That's fine. And we should respect it and take note of it. But it's not the information that points us to the medicine, because then you could end up thinking, well, you know, this person must need nature muriatic because they had a cold mother.
Hmm.
Do you know? I mean, it's
I just love. I don't know what my mind is. I don't know if it's normal behavior. Maybe I should maybe need a consult with you, Bill. But anyway, I'm just thinking of a Victorian age phone, okay, a brown phone, and
that's right.
you picking it up, you know, and it's the crackling sound, you know, and somebody because when you mentioned ancestry and we talk about all of this and the lineage and you could have somebody who is so stuck in the past that you're actually not talking to them, you're talking to
Exactly.
the you know ancestors up, right? And then it filters down and it's like who are you? Who am I? Wow,
Exactly. And
fascinating.
that's a mystery. And
Yeah.
that will ever remain, identity is a mystery. You know, none of us know who we are until we're about to die, apparently. Oh, that was me. Oh, right. That's not one so bad. But
Oh my God,
I
you've
think
just yeah.
I think the thing is, I was when I was working in Ghana, I met a guy who was a professor of philosophy at the University of Accra. He was also a voodoo practitioner. And he said, oh, I'm fascinated with homeopathy. And I started trying to explain about the vital force and all that stuff. And I just got more and more tangled. And he looked at me and he said, well, actually, we're sounds. And I thought that was amazing because it really, and then going back to the organon, Hahnemann talks about tuning, mistuning, the physician's highest and only calling. There's all sorts of sonic clues and tonal clues all the way through the organon. And an organon actually means instrument, interestingly enough. And that led me to think that we're orchestras, really. Anyway, that's another story. But music is based on the process of call and response, and healing and homeopathy, which is a particular resonant form of healing through the succussion and dilution of substances, is basically in a resonant process. So we're there to respond to the call, but we're not coming. The call is coming from the primitive rhythmic part of the person, not from their ideas. Do you see? So I like the analogy of the phone is like, it could have been ringing for generations. And the thing is that it's only the fool that picks up the phone. It's like the story of the Grail, It's actually the simpleton who heals the wounded Fisher King by saying, "What is the Grail serve? What is this thing?" And all
Hey,
the
I have a question for you on that.
yeah.
So we talk about how patients can carry the load and they need to offset from generations gone by, right? And we can go into miasmatic theory and whatnot. But you just mentioned something about sound,
Mm.
and sound doesn't get lost, in the airwaves because it's a frequency and it will remain, right? So we're talking energy and etc., etc.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe postulation, maybe, but does that mean that possibly one of the other ways to explain, I don't know why I'm asking this, but anyway,
Go for it.
tell me if it's wrong.
Better, Sadiq.
Does that mean that when we talk about this and we talk about what our ancestors went to or went through, and or if we have certain negative experiences in life, because if they're positive, we wouldn't be talking to a homeopath, right? Does that mean it's also the vibration of the sound that has affected the vital force, because they're very gentle harmonics that are in the background, like whispers almost, on that telephone line you mentioned? They could
Yeah.
be crackles. Is it the crackles?
It's the I mean, you've lost me slightly. What we're looking for is discord. What we're interested in, sort of miasmatically, is I mean, I often feel like the things that you saw your parents do, you act them out, or your grandparents do, you act them out. But it's the things you didn't see that act you out. And I think that, the ancestors are actually quite interested in us enacting and performing incomplete business. And
I like that. Incomplete business.
unfinished business is unfinished business,
Yeah.
And the whole thing about miasm theory is that really and truly the bottom line is to disrupt Sora. And Sora simply means rut or channel or a groove. Sora is a process, not a thing. And Sora is the process by which energy follows well-worn paths, which have been laid down for generation after generation. We are this kind of person. We believe in this thing. This is our land. This is our identity. This is what we do for a job. Blah 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 blah. It's the background to most of the conflict that's going on in the world at the moment is people thinking that they know who they are and who their enemies are. And for me, the Sora is the channel through which that information is transmitted. And every now and then when we get sick, when we get an acute illness, when we get into trouble, it's actually an attempt to get us out the rut. And I think that the energies that we work with are very, very interested in disrupting our routine lives when they've shifted from ensuring life's continuance to insulting destiny and our life's purpose. And so when the work we're doing is actually disruptive to Sora, which is it's the rut.
Your words, I tell you what, seriously, Naila, when we talk about Bill, now it's a totally new level. Insulting destiny. Come on, that's a powerful statement. I mean, it really is, because words have the power to shape and define us, right? That's something I'll never forget. Insulting destiny. I'm going to use that on somebody.
Well, yeah.
Don't insult destiny. And it's like, what?
Right, because our destiny is a mystery.
Yeah.
And I think as homeopaths, we decode these signals in the here and now. So it's what happens during the consultation is 100% what we work with. And, we don't know what's going to happen until after it's happened. And also, I mean, I'm quite clear that the purpose of meaning is to understand lived experience. And, we cannot understand the meaning of a patient's disease. That is an inflation. And it leads us into speculation. And when I was training at the time, homeopathy was mainly psychological. Actually, we tried to understand the psychological background to disease. And it's moved from psychological to cosmological now. We're looking at the kingdoms and the periodic table and all those other things. For me, the main thing is to respond to the momentary signals that the vital force is sending. That does away with ideas of mental, emotional, and physical symptoms, for example, and opens up all sorts of possible secondary processes which are below the level of the patient's awareness.
Wow.
Sweat which doesn't wash out, or anything like that. I mean, I had a patient in this morning who was particularly fascinating, and I'd given him apis before for a heart condition. And the thing that struck me most today was he looks exactly like he looks like a bumblebee. And I mean,
how is that possible?
a sort of round face and huge glasses.
Okay.
Wow.
But I just thought it was kind of funny. But that's only retrospective. I didn't notice that until I come to apis, you see. So we start to understand the meaning of the case, or these signals, or these symbols start to make sense once we found the remedy. We have to get the remedy has to find us, really. And then everything starts to fall into place.
This is quite interesting because we were talking to Sally Williams from the US, and she was relaying an incident of a proving as part of the Great Lakes Proving Project. See, Naila, I said it right. I didn't get tongue-tied there, because I did, yes, when we recorded. So she was saying that she was relaying a dream. And for those listening in, actually, that episode is out, so please do tune into that with Sally Williams. And she was relaying a dream, a nightmare that she had the day before approving. And it was orchid, wasn't it, Naila? Yes? And interestingly enough, the dream was exactly what that proving was about. So it's interesting, isn't it? We talk about energy and what you've just mentioned, and how finding the remedy, then the remedy, you said, finds us. But sometimes it can find us well before we actually get to the remedy itself.
Exactly. So what you're tapping into through dreams.
Sunbergia. It was Sunbergia grandiflora, not orchid.
That's the one. Blue something, wasn't it? Blue sky, blue something.
Flower. Yeah.
What we're actually tapping into through dreams, for example, or coincidences, or anything else, synchronicities, is the potential for something to manifest before it manifests.
Wow.
When we get interested in those sort of potentials, then we become more open to things that don't make any sense whatsoever at the time.
It's like it's all about energy and vibrancy, and everything is dynamic if we perceive it as dynamic, and if we open up to it, the signals will come to us. Even as homeopaths, will you help homeopaths listening, graduates who are or students who want to help people out there? How can they perceive those animated signals, or how do they prepare themselves to open up?
Okay, well, for me, the fascinating thing is that the Western mind thinks we notice something because of our brain. All other cultures at all other times have understood that we notice something because it's signaling to us. And because since the age of reason and the Industrial Revolution and all those things, I mean, the feeling has been that we're isolated living beings in a dead mechanical universe. However, for the previous however many thousands of years, and in cultures sort of that are not, that are pre-industrial. The idea is that we're living in a dynamic, interconnected universe. Anything is capable of signaling. So one way to stay alive is to pay attention to what signal is in the environment, because everything has a presence. Trees have presences, places have a presence, people have presence, animal has presence, water has a presence. And the presence is the energetic background to whatever manifests. In other words, you meet someone, you can sense their presence. You see, you can feel the presence of a person, even if they look like they're probably very nice. You might feel some signal, slight discordant signal, something going on. So I think the way to develop these particular aspects of the work is to imagine that if you notice a tree, it's because it's signaling to you, rather than the fact that your brain is now tuned into looking at it. So actually, it's actually moving into a place where we're living in an interconnected, signaling, communicating universe. It gets a lot more interesting. It's not necessarily going to make your life easier, but it will help your perception.
That's very interesting, because when we are driving, let's say in the countryside, or in a very beautiful, picturesque place, sometimes we're in the car and something catches our attention and we just stop, right? We make an effort to stop, or we have passed by something and we want to go back to that place and just, and just say, oh no, I think we should go. It's interesting how that all works, doesn't it? Because it's like this sense, there must be some energy there, right? There's some sensation that's like, see me or experience me.
And that only happens if we are actually open to perceiving. If we are like focused, no, I have to go reach there by 12.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the problem. And also, if you think, oh my God, I've got to find a remedy here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened.
And actually, you need to be spacious about it.
Mm.
And that's the whole point of disrupting Sora. That's to get you to take a detour. The way to disrupt Sora is to take a detour. Don't go down the same path you normally go. Drive a different way to work. That's the way to do it.
I do it sometimes when it's like I'm going in one direction, and I always want to take the detour and see how will it look like if I go from that direction, and changes my mind. It changes my perception. The whole day looks different when I take a detour, and that sometimes makes me arrive late, but that's all right.
Yeah. So really, the analogy with homeopathy is really important here. Is allow yourself, if a door opens during a consultation, go through it. If a curtain's open, look through the window. It's allow yourself to be detoured. Once that connection has been made, it will show you things. And again, it's not necessarily Kent was around at the same time as the birth of psychology, and so for him the mind was the most significant thing, and the patient's will and understanding, if they were out of harmony, would be the cause of disease. But actually it could be something really, really apparently meaningless and trivial, like the way somebody sweats or
So is it the known and unknown world perceiving the signals the same as Kant's will and understanding, or complement each other?
No, because it's a mystery. It's a mystery that there are certain elements which are trying to attract the attention of you and the patient. So there are certain aspects which are trying to attract the patient's attention because of their identity and the way they see themselves and their purpose in life and their role in the relationship or the religion or the family, that you marginalize it. Because why? Because it doesn't fit with my idea of my life purpose. So the signals get marginalized. They don't go away, so they get more persistent. And normally, if we're working with people, what we're very interested in is the information of which they are not normally aware,
Yeah.
not the way they see themselves or the way they understand their world. It's the
Mm,
information that they're not normally aware of.
mm, 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 mm,
And that information has far more charge. Somebody talking about how they are and their ideas or beliefs or anything.
mm. You use really good examples to help us understand. You've already given. Can you share your one of your experiences where you saw that happening in the consultation? I'm sure you see it every day, every single day, but something for our listeners.
Well, again, I mean, we had a patient who had Lyme's disease,
Mm,
and she'd gone from being a successful interior designer to living as a hermit with her husband in a cottage in the middle of Wales
mm,
with extreme fatigue.
mm,
And
Wow.
she spoke about her fatigue, and she spoke about, the fact that life was so exhausting and so challenging that she rarely even went into the local village now to shop and all that stuff. Her world had diminished to something very tiny, and
mm,
there were no symptoms pointing to a remedy at all in the case. And then she said that when she went to the loo, she trembled.
mm,
And now we have the nucleus of the case because that is a symptom that points to a medicine.
mm,
So we went to generalities, trembling, stool during, and then from that point on, the case opens up
mm.
because everything starts to fall into place.
You've yeah, you've said something extremely deep and profound. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you. That was just brilliant. Just so
Uh,
good.
yeah.
So good. I think everything that you're a genius, Bill. You're
Oh,
so good. I just love it. I can see you,
I'm just a
right?
Chelsea fan.
I can see you sitting in front of a fire on an old armchair. That doesn't got nothing to do with your age, by the way, with a pipe, talking homeopathy. The fireside chat, as they call it.
Yeah. The pipe would be nice.
Yeah. Uh, Naila.
I was just looking, I was just trying to find the rubric.
General
Okay, brilliant.
Camping
Well, there we
School.
go.
Did you
Live
get it?
repertorization
Yeah,
on the
I found it.
Homeopathy Health Show.
It has
Ladies and gentlemen, we're very focused here on this show, as you very well know. Repertory is online and it's going ahead.
it's four remedies in there: carbon, sulfonium, lecaninum, and myrrh.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a small choice.
Yeah.
Amazing how often people say, well, we're not encouraged to use remedies with only a few rubrics with only a few remedies in them. I say, well, that's crazy because they're the most unusual.
Hmm.
Mm,
Heinemann says, odd, striking, unusual, and exceptional should be especially and almost solely kept in view. Almost all you're looking for is the stuff that doesn't make sense.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's the real pure
Which
keynote,
one did
isn't
you
it?
go for?
Uh,
Which one did you go for?
it was another Mercury case, unfortunately.
Mercury. I was
The one I
thinking.
mentioned earlier, but it's funny because mercury does signal in very surprising. It's a
Mm,
very interesting remedy from a communication point of view, and actually, the essence of understanding mercury is extraordinarily unusual communication systems.
mm,
It's just
mm,
come up twice today for some reason.
mm. Yeah, I can absolutely, from my little knowledge, say Mercury patients, they have different symptom language. Could be one would have a different way of communicating, and the other one will have a different way of
Yeah,
communicating.
yeah. So if you try and pin it down, it'll fox you.
Mhm. That's Mercury, right?
Quicksilver, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, hey, that very nicely takes us to the end of this episode, Bill. Sadly, we are out of time. I'm so sorry about that
Okay.
because I just want to talk to you for ages. Nyla and I are just loving it.
I told him you will love being with Will. It's just like I
Mm.
can don't even want I was again back to the classroom when sitting here. I didn't want to question. I just wanted to listen.
Oh, bless you both. Thank
You
you
are.
very much for inviting me. I'm very honored.
It's been
Thank you for coming.
fascinating, and we have to do it again because and we will do it again because we have some other ideas, Bill. We're
Okay.
never out of ideas here, not just under Homeopathy Health Show, but also as founders of Homeopathy in Practice. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. What a plug. Hey, but Bill Rumble, it's been an absolute pleasure, has it not, Naila? It's been so,
My pleasure all the
I
time.
mean, yeah, it's just, it's brilliant. I just remember your words. So, don't insult destiny. I love that. I love the telephone example. Seriously, you've changed me, because when I pick up the phone with the patient, generally I'll say, hello, can I help you? Or if I know them, of course, then it's just like, how are you doing, type of thing. But now when I pick up the phone, I've got that phone isn't leaving my head, that
Okay.
brown phone made of wood,
Yeah.
So it's somehow you've embedded this into my process. Thank you.
When he was giving this example of phone, I was thinking about my childhood when we firstly got those phones. They were ringing, and we're running to that. Who will be on the other side? Who
Yeah,
will be on the other side? The
yeah,
curiosity of who will it be?
yeah. Hey, this
Right.
is to offer you free car insurance, isn't it? You've
It
just won
wasn't
a
happening
million.
at that
You've
time.
just won £1 million. You just have to pay 900 million to get it. Bill Rumble, thank you
Okay.
so very much indeed.
Thank you
Thanks.
for joining us, Bill. Thank you.
See you later.
I do hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show. Tune in every week for inspiring conversations, bringing you all things health and well-being to your radio and podcast apps.
The more exposure the Homeopathy Health Show receives, the better for homeopathy around the world.
And please do support the show by clicking follow on our socials.
You can find us at www.homeopathyinpractice.co.uk and on Facebook and Instagram at Homeopathy in Practice. Do give us a follow on there. Let's promote the voice of homeopathy around the world together. Until next time, stay safe and take care.